over the last weekend, we started our journey with the club basics of the cloud computing. We also learned about the AWS global infrastructure. We also learned about the availability zone and the regions, and then started working with the very first service in the cloud, that is EC2. And EC2 help you create the virtual machines in the cloud. We also learned how to build a virtual machine, how you are built for it, what different models are available, and then we learned about how to build a high availability. So how to utilize multiple availability zones to build a highly available application. So while doing so, we also created a custom image as well, and then created a multiple web servers across multiple availability zones, and then to distribute the incoming traffic over a round robin. So we also introduced the load balancer, and with the help of the target group, we distributed the incoming traffic. So we saw how the incoming traffic is actually getting distributed across multiple systems in a round robin mode. Okay. So after the high availability, now today we are going to be going and discussing further onto the virtual machine and the EC2, and we are going to be going and talking about the scalability part. Okay. So high availability is if something goes wrong, you still be able to go and access your services, right? There won't be an impact to the services which you are consuming, which you are accessing. Okay, that is what the high availability is. Now, what what do you understand by a scalability? Okay, what comes to your mind when you think about the scalable part? Any thoughts on that? Okay, can we have multiple target group under the same load balancer? No, it's always a 1:1 kind of mapping. Okay, no, it's always a 1:. Yep. Okay. Okay. Yep. I think that's a fair understanding. That let's say you are a startup, you are a small organization, and then you start using an application. Okay. So when you are a small or a mid organization, you may be doing great with the limited resources. But let's say now your application has grown, your organization has grown, and and the initial resources which you have configured are not enough. Okay. So can your infrastructure also grow as your business grows? Okay. That is what the scalability is. Now, at the same time, when there is kind of a peak demand, when there's kind of a more demand for the resources, you go and provision more resources. But at times when you don't need those many resources, do you still need to pay for them, or you want to let those extra resources go so you don't end up paying higher charges for resources which you are currently not using, not utilizing? Okay, so that's all is a part of the scalability part. Okay, how you can scale your environment when there's a more demand for the resources for you. So doing the scalability is not easy when you are working in your own data center, when you're working in the on-premises. But when you are in cloud, scaling your environment is very, very easy. Okay, because you can always go and request for the resources on demand. You can simply go and say, all right, at this point of time, I do need more sources, and I'm going to be going and paying more when I'm using those. Think of a case that you are an online shopping site, and you're expecting there's going to be more number of users over the weekend, or more number of users during the Black Friday sale. Okay, so when there's going to be a holiday season, there's going to be more people going to be consuming your application, placing more orders. You do need more resources for your application to run, to cater to those many users. Okay, that is where the requirement of flexible scaling comes into the picture. So scale, pay more when you need, and when no one is using, so shrink your environment, reduce your environment, and save money. Okay, so we are going to be going to learn the scalability part in two different ways today. Okay, we will go and talk about a vertical scaling first. Okay, so let's get started that what exactly the vertical scaling is and how to perform the vertical scaling, what happens in the vertical scaling, what benefit we do have during the vertical scaling. Okay, and where to prefer the vertical scaling, and then we'll discuss about the limitations of it, and then we'll show you one more type of a scalability option that's going to be the horizontal one. Okay, let's start with the vertical scaling first. So let's say you do have one EC2 machine and you do have a storage connected to it. Okay, so you are doing great with this machine. Okay, it's working as expected. Now there are a more number of users who want to go and consume your application, and you think the number of CPU memory which are available on this machine are not enough anymore. Okay, so you do need a bigger machine. So what you can do, you can simply go and bump up the capacity on the existing resources. Okay, so existing EC2, if you are using, let's say, two CPUs and a 4 gig of memory, you can bump up the capacity. You will continue to use the same virtual machine. You just going to be going and adding more CPU and a more memory to the same virtual machine. So you are going to scale up. Okay, you're going to be adding more resources. You're going to be scaling it up. And while doing this scaling up, there won't be any kind of an impact to the storage, to the application installation, to the files which you already have on this virtual machine. So this is going to be the very easy way of bumping up the capacity. What all data you do have, you will continue to use the same storage. You will have the same version of the operating system, application, configuration, files, everything is going to stay intact, and you will continue to use all those resources. Okay. Only change which you will find is it's only going to be going to have a more higher capacity to it. Okay. There's going to be a higher capacity which is going to be there. All right. Now, when you think you don't need the capacity, or maybe initially you might have chosen a large machine. Okay, you might have chosen a bigger machine, and later you realize that no, you're not able to utilize all those resources. So you want to go and downsize it. Okay, so when you want to go and downsize, you can go and reduce the capacity of the resources which are available there on this virtual machine. So you can actually go and move the resources both ways, increase and decrease. Okay, so when you increase the resources, it is going to be the scaling up. Okay, scale up, and when we reduce, it's going to be the scale down. So let's see how to perform that, how to do it. Okay, I'm just going to be going and showing you, and while performing it, we are going to go and learn something more important. So please join me here in the lab. Okay, we're gonna do this exercise together.